if I recall correctly, I first woke up around 5 in the morning, but then I quickly fell back asleep and woke up at around 8:30 in the morning, thus rendering my 9 p.m. laptop and phone alarms obsolete for the time being. And by laptop, I mean the one set through an online website. It's hard to believe that they're doing another evolvable building event after so little time. Luckily, I was able to ultimately get the first daily exclusive. I think ultimately I'm gunning for that over, say, the Phoenix artifacts. Though I believe you can still get both of those things as long as you work quickly to complete all of the task sets. I'm about to complete the 6th one, which unlocks a dialogue screen. My people have old drawings of these kinds of phoenixes. They think that this is an ashen phoenix. If a phoenix goes through many life cycles, then one day they can become an ashen one. Probably the wisest amongst phoenixes. Luckily, a tournament started just today, pretty much. My African politics class started at 9:30 in the morning. It was online, like always. And the lecture was about the Malays, or perhaps it could be more summed up as the hesitancy of modernity which is meant to describe the conflict in African countries, as well as was later named but not discussed, countries in the Middle East. Generally, a traditionalist society is based on tradition, while a modern society is based on reason. Whether it's a traditional society or a modern society has to do with what is prevalent. There are, of course, still tradition in the United States and other modern countries that have a modern society viewpoint. And them being based on reason, they tend to be pretty similar, as the notes for that week said. Oddly enough, the midterm had questions regarding the week 7 content, but it was not discussed. So that threw a bit of a curveball at me at the time I took it. I have this piece of cheesy bread. Spanish class was online through Zoom today, which is probably a first for a Tuesday. We did a couple of short exercises on past participles, and then we spent the rest of class going over the article that we're all supposed to submit a review for by Thursday. And I did my best to help a breakout group on the questions that were assigned to us. I have the Chapter 14 quiz in Spanish coming up, as well as the midterm for my national security class, as well as, again, that review that's due on Thursday. And on Friday, that's the time by which, 6 p.m., I have to do the week 7 assignment for my African politics class, which helps to explain why I decided to do Wednesday's VHL Central assignment early. In order to get it out of the way, to do more studying for my Chapter 14 Spanish quiz and my national security midterm. For art class, it starts at 2 p.m. So, I went and got lunch at Harrison Dining Hall. It would end up being around 2:30 p.m. because the Intermediate Spanish 2 class ended up dragging on for an extra 15 minutes due to questions regarding, I believe, the article about how the Spanish language tends to be lost within the United States. over time. Those who come to the United States from Hispanic countries, and by that I believe that means countries that have Spanish as their official language, tend to replace Spanish with English in the United States within 3 generations, and Spanish tends to be completely lost within 4 in most cases. Due to as the professor says, bilingual ability not being praised within the United States. From what I've heard, a professora said that the language department has been reduced within the past 8 years. Though I'm pretty sure that there is a market for being bilingual within the United States. There are a lot of native English speakers within the United States who pick Spanish as a second language, me included. I had my talk abroad conversation at 4:45 p.m. today, and it ended at 5 p.m. due to these conversations being 15 minutes. I prepare questions as a way to so I can have things to say during the conversation, though I'm not sure there's any way of being fully prepared for something like that. Though it is with many things. The apprehension, the waiting to do something, it's worse than the actually doing it part. Excuse me. I had feelings of nervousness, relatively mild, I would say, in roughly the last 15 minutes. Leading up to the conversation, for which I ended up being asked about. I didn't really get to ask. I only got to ask a relatively small part of the questions I prepared. Maybe about 3 of them, at best. I asked this one, but I didn't ask this one because my talk abroad conversation partner pretty much answered this question in her answer to this one. If I recall, this was the first time that the internet connection was strong enough at Rockport for video to work. During the talk abroad conversation. This is my 6th talk abroad conversation with the same partner. The art class, the entirety of it was painting out a color wheel. I got most of the outer part done. The primary colors, the secondary colors that require mixing 2 primary colors together, and most of the tertiary or tertiary colors, which require mixing a primary and a secondary together. And the tertiary colors, a proper way of naming them is primary, secondary. That's the model. Their primary color is named first. Then the secondary color you mix the primary with. Now, this is pretty unique. That's the first evolvable building event in which I heard that, in which I saw that the portrait is the last special prize. I'm currently using this expansion in order to work on getting the population I need in order to place down, this new upgraded steel manufactory in order to complete this quest. I'm currently unable to complete this quest because, although I'm getting relatively close to completing the process of getting my Dwarven Portal back, I've still got a ways to go. I believe this might be big enough for me to... it seems to me to be maybe a 3x4 building. So it might be possible to place that new evolvable building I got in its place if I move some stuff around. These are the first buildings I got as being part on the fairies chapter. The inner part of the color wheel is the part that requires our black and white paint, because they require because for each color you make, The other part of it, you paint its tint, meaning how it is mixed with a bit of white, and shade, how it is mixed with a bit of black. I went to Harrison to pick up dinner at around 7 p.m. because I noticed it was roughly 6.5 minutes before the last 3-hour production period of goods would finish. Roughly 6.5 minutes. 6.5 minutes. And I figured that I could go to get dinner if I sort of hurried and got back. But that ended up not happening, possibly because I made a quick stop to get 2 Rockstar Endurance X-Durance energy drinks. One cotton candy flavored and the other, I believe, kiwi strawberry flavored. I also did a bit of cleaning up today. I found this nail file. I think there's roughly enough sand on this file in order to correct this nail I broke while getting ready to get dinner. I only have to wonder, when I complete this research upgrade, will I ultimately be asked to get rid of the Dwarven portal that I may at that point still be trying to get back? I'm more than willing to get rid of the Dwarven portal. It's necessary in order to advance, but first, I'd like to complete all of the Dwarven side quests, so I don't miss out on coins and supplies. And the 99th Dan Hamming, I believe I'm in a bit of a tough spot. Though I believe it's something that can be resolved with some effort, some note-taking, in the Dan Hamming notebook. And there's also the Kitteroo voice question. Should I trust the VoiceForge fix? Is the new version of Rapper Offline stable enough, or should I just do what I've been doing? It may seem likely, though, that I probably should wait for that VoiceForge fix. I've got a VoiceForge voice clip that should be replaced because it has that little speck of an audio glitch. From the very start of today's Talk Abroad conversation, I ended up being asked about if it's important to be punctual, which it is, because if you aren't, you end up not being able to go to parties or to go out to see a movie. That's essentially the gist of what I ended up saying. And then, of course, me mentioning parties ended up, she took out a mask in order to remind that there's no parties right now due to the current ongoing situation. Although the later half of the conversation did end up being about cities in Ecuador, for the most part. At least, and that's how I remember it.